What is up, YouTube? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards here to talk some NBA. Today, I have researched, I've dug through the charts to find what I would label as some NBA superstars that his value has remained kind of flat or even dipping down, that I think have pretty good potential to spike back up as we head towards the NBA playoffs and even into the NBA playoffs. Now, these guys will not be cheap because we are talking NBA superstar / NBA championship level players in some cases, MVPs in some cases. But yeah, their prices just haven't moved that much. They've stayed flat. They've dipped down in some cases. And in my opinion, they have some runway to move back up again. Let's get into it. YouTube stuff down below. You guys know the drill. Like, comment, sub. Whole 9 yards. If you're interested in market movers, the links to that are down there too. Let's go. First up, and I know he's a head case. Trust me. I know more than most. I was a season ticket holder for a few years with the squad. Mr. Kyrie Irving. Off-court drama aside, dude's a hell of a basketball player. A joy to watch when he plays for your team, as long as he stays out of the news. And he's probably on the Eastern Conference favorite. I really think it's them or the Sixers, to be quite honest with you. The Nets look really good. They can't stop anybody, but they look really good. And you can see his PSA 10 Prism was trending down, and I'm doing 60-day charts all this because that essentially puts us right back to the beginning of the season. So we're going right back to right when the NBA season started. So he's had a little bit of a bumpy ride. He went up. He took a sabbatical. He went way down, flattened out, traded for James Harden, spiked up, spiked down, spiked up, went down, flattened out a little bit, and is slowly going back up again as the Nets really, they put that 5-game win streak on, and they are looking legit. His PSA 10 Prism currently sits at around $1,100 to $1,200. Extremely rare. Only 678 exist in a PSA 10. And these guys are probably going to the ECF. Maybe someone knocks them off early, but I think worst case, most of the guys I'm going to talk about today, you can buy and probably sell right before the playoffs, in my opinion, assuming they don't get hurt or anything crazy happens, obviously, and just sell them for a profit without them even playing a playoff game. Because these are all guys that are on teams that should be in relative contention outside of maybe one, and they're still a pretty decent team. So Kyrie Irving, if you're looking for something higher dollar, modern, short-term flip, buy it now, sit on it till April, and then send it packing for something else. I think could be a really good sneaky pickup. Low pop, really good team, flashy player, kind of checks all the boxes. Let's go on to the next one. Try to keep this one short today, I promise. I probably won't, but one can dream. Tatum. Good old Jason Tatum. Celtics are 500 right now. They have not looked fantastic, but trade deadline's still coming. They could make a move that would give Tatum a nice little spike. And he's actually been trending down lately. Since the season started, he is down 14% at really kind of like an all-time, not an all-time low, but a low point for a while, sub $700 in his PSA 10. And once again, population's not small on this, but it's not big either. The 2017 to 2018 difference in pop counts are massive. 2017, only about 5,000 of these exist. That's a lot, but it's not a lot. It's not Luka, Trey, Ja, Zion levels. Tatum just looked amazing on Sunday. Celtics didn't, but he did. The key here is, and this was the one that I was kind of on the fringe about, is do we think the Celtics make a deal? They have a $25-ish million trade exception. If Danny Ainge is finally ready to give up some draft picks and maybe something else, and they could go make a move for someone to come in to help this team out, I think one, that would immediately give Tatum an injection in regards to his prices. Two, though they're probably not the favorite for the Eastern Conference Finals, I still think they're one of the better teams in the East, even at their mediocre 500 record. I think they figure things out. Tatum and Brown are just too damn good, I think, to just get bounced in the first round of the playoffs or anything like that. But also remember, my plan here isn't necessarily to hold these guys beyond the playoffs. Now, Tatum, I'm personally into pretty cheap, so I don't see myself, necessarily selling him before the playoffs. I kind of like him as a little bit of a longer term hold for the price that I got into him at. And we'll see. But he is and these are in no particular order, but he is number 2 of my 5. Because you got to make it YouTube. You got to make everything like a top 5, right? There's no top here. There's no top or bottom. It's just 5 guys. You can't have 6. It's got to be 5. Next up, AD. Buying the dip on AD. This one's a little scary because he's expensive. But at the relatively decreased prices at around 2K, short pop count 1400, the legendary 2012 Prism set. Once he comes back, assuming the Achilles issue ends up being no big deal and he can come back and make a good playoff run. Now, this is one I probably would hold into the playoffs, assuming he's healthy before the playoffs start, and sell maybe in the second or third round. But if he's healthy and LeBron's healthy, the Lakers are at least making it to the Western Conference Finals at minimum, most likely. So I think this card has a lot of room to end up going back up. To start the season, it basically was about 2K. It spiked up a few times, came back down again. It's kind of been all over the place. These lower population cards like this that don't sell quite as often, only 100 have changed hands since the start of the season, can really spike the graph depending on what's going on. But yeah, I think AD at current prices, they make a deep playoff run. He is going to go back up and potentially way up. Next on the list, another favorite of mine based off of how well they're playing. The Phoenix Suns, one of my other favorite teams in the West. I really think it's the Jazz, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Suns. Yeah, sure, there's going to be some other teams that are in the mix, but I think those are your top 4. And other than the Lakers, I think if fully healthy, they're the clear-cut favorite. But any of the next 3 teams, don't sleep on the Suns, man. With CP3, they are legit and have been playing extremely well. Booker seems to be getting it together, and his prices have spiked recently. We've kind of missed the window here. He was all the way down to about $800 or $900. He is back up to about 1,100, give or take. And once again, I'm going to repeat myself here. I just think he has tons of room to go up. They're going to get hyped at some point in time, and his stuff's going to go wild. He's going to rip off a couple big games, and his prices are going to spike once the money shifts back to the modern NBA market. And his stuff was sky high last year before the playoffs. Now I know that was like in the peak of NBA market crazy town, but I could easily see his stuff going up quite a bit before the actual playoffs start, or right around when the playoffs are going to start. And once again, if you want to risk it a little bit, carry it through the first round, see what happens. Or if you want to just cash out, assuming the money comes back to modern, any of the guys that we've talked about, I just do not see how their cards don't go up between now and the start of the playoffs, unless the money just never comes back to modern. Then if that's the case, then, all the modern's screwed. But these guys that I'm talking about, I just don't see how the money doesn't flow back into them at some point in time. Last one on the list. And I don't want to say the most controversial, because he's really not controversial, but I really do think he kind of screwed himself by doing what he did this offseason. That's Giannis. So Giannis stuff, and I included a couple bonus cards with Giannis because I kind of want to do a little bit of a deeper dive here. I think Giannis really hurt his value by signing the contract. I understand why he did it. I mean, to a degree, he wanted to stay there. Whatever, that's his choice. But from an NBA championship perspective, he made his life more difficult. And he really killed the momentum of his cards from a market perspective. Him potentially being a free agent this year is what everyone was banking on, with the hope that he goes to Dallas and teams up with Luka or goes somewhere else and forms a super team. That is clearly not going to happen now. The Bucks are really good. They are not as good as they were last year, at least on paper. Part of me is wondering if they are just kind of cruising and kind of experimenting. They know they're going to be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Home court doesn't even matter this year. And the Drew Holiday pickup, though they probably did overpay for him, he has been playing extremely well for them. If they can make a playoff run, his stuff really has a chance to go back up again, I think. Now, this one's risky because he's expensive to get into. But, man, if they found a way to get out of the Eastern Conference this year, his stuff would fly. Maybe they could do that. That's a tall order because the Nets and the Sixers look so good. But I just can't see how Giannis doesn't get a price increase between now and the run up to the playoffs. Maybe I'm completely whiffing on this one. You know, I have one Giannis card and a rookie. It's a BGS 9.5 Prism that I got dirt cheap because I bought it back in 2019. So I'm into it for basically nothing. But I just can't see how someone at his talent level doesn't see a price increase between now and the playoffs. And he's playing pretty good. His numbers are down a little bit, but the Bucks are going to be one of the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference, without a doubt. It's them, the Sixers, and the Nets. And it's just a matter if they could get a little bit lucky. Maybe someone knocks out one of those other 2 teams. You know, Embiid has health problems all the time. The Nets are fragile in regards to health. You know, KD's coming back. He's missed games. Kyrie misses games a lot of the time. Harden typically doesn't. This year he did for, you know, trying to get out of town. But they also don't play any defense. So maybe, you know, something wild could happen in a series with them, whether it's against the Bucks or whoever. But regardless, Giannis stuff has really declined this entire season. His prism-based PSA 10's down 15%. His hoops is down 9%. Or the select's down 9%, and his hoops is down 3%. If you wanted to risk it big time on Giannis, I think it's an interesting play. Personally, out of the guys we listed on here, I think he would be the last one I would look at, as crazy as that sounds, but maybe I'm nuts. But I really think a lot of his potential value was tied up in him leaving. And once he signed that contract, it kind of sucked the life out of that for a lot of people, myself included. I was super hype on him teaming up with Luka. Really wanted to see that happen. No offense, Bucks fans. I know what it's like when an NBA superstar leaves your town for greener pastures. So part of me was glad that he signed with you guys after going through what we went through here in Cleveland, though, you know, we came out on the right end eventually. It just took a while. So let me know what you guys think. I've tried to find guys specifically that have not seen big price swings already. You know, we've talked about Embiid already. We've talked about Joker, Mitchell, etc. But those guys have already seen nice jumps in prices the last few weeks. I wanted to specifically target guys that have basically stayed flat or slightly pulled back during the NBA season. So let me know what you guys think. Is there someone obvious that I missed? And keep in mind what I just said. Prices haven't already drastically increased like on those guys that I mentioned. If someone's already up 30, 40% on the year, that wasn't the point of this list. I did something very similar to this before the season started, and a lot of those guys panned out pretty well. I basically looked at all the players that did not get price increases in the run up to the NBA season, and a lot of those guys are the ones that saw price increases. Sexton was on that list. Garland was on that list. And Embiid was on that list. I forget who else. But there was a handful of guys on that list that didn't have the hype period of the NBA preseason. They were just flat. And then when the NBA season started, now I got lucky because they played well. And they were guys that at least had some pedigree or potential to play well. But since they hadn't already seen price increases, their prices shot up. Whereas the inverse was true of the other guys. Trae Young, for example, prices shot up in the preseason. And then as soon as the season started, he would have had to completely ball out to maintain the price levels that he got to. So that stuff fell back with the added bonus that money shifted out of modern to vintage, if you will, or all-time legends / greats. So keep that in mind if you're throwing names at the wall and going, I can't believe you didn't mention this guy. That's probably why, because I looked through the numbers to try to find people that will qualify for this list. So who's your favorite one of these 5? Like I said, I think Giannis is my least favorite. So if I was spending money, he would probably be the last one that I would look at. But if I could fall into some sort of Giannis deal, I wouldn't say necessarily no to it. I'm at least intrigued. But I think out of the 4, I like Booker the best just because he's the youngest, and probably Tatum. Kyrie and AD have huge upside, but also probably have the highest risk of the 5. Whereas Booker and Tatum probably have the lowest risk, but might also have the lower ceiling. AD could easily be in the Western. AD and Kyrie could easily be playing each other in the NBA Finals. That is 100% on the table, assuming health. So, but that's all I got for you guys today. Once again, like, comment, sub. SCI link down there if you guys want to check out Market Movers. Amazon affiliate link down there if you want to buy some stuff through Amazon. You can do it through the affiliate link. I get a very small portion. Helps out for buying audio and video equipment for the channel. Last thing that I used that stuff for was a arm that mounts to my desk to mount my Canon camera on for when I rip products, which I don't do very often, but also show off mail days and stuff. It got it off a tripod. You guys don't see it because I edited it out, but I used to knock over the tripod about 4 times a recording when I would use it because of where I had to place it. So the arm has been a nice addition to the setup. But you guys have a good day. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.